Dragan Bender at number 4. Did you have any kind of level of certainty that you could go and get Chriss later on? I mean, what was that like?
No, we didn't. We hoped we could. It was really close day between those two guys with the 4th pick. We went back and forth on it. They're both tremendous young players. It's really hard to find talented young big guys, and they're completely different. Dragan has the size and the length, the passing ability, and the ability to move his feet on the perimeter that is rare and unique. And a couple years ago, coming out of the under 18 European Championships, I think he was 17 years old at the time. He was considered potentially the number 1 pick in this draft. So we really like what we saw with him. And then Marquese Chriss, my goodness, just an explosive athlete, vertical athlete. Came onto the game late. He was a football player, then got injured, took up basketball late. But those two guys, we went back and forth and deliberated, and it was split almost right down the middle among our staff, among the front office staff and the coaching staff, ownership. We're all going back and forth for weeks now. And then today, earlier today, we said, well, what if we can get both? I don't know, it seemed unlikely given where we had them rated. But we just came up with a concept and tried to get picks behind us, starting at 5, 6, 7. And then Sacramento at 8 liked what we had to offer, and we were ecstatic when Marquese was still there. Because as I mentioned, he and Dragan were neck and neck the whole time.
How long had that trade, have you been talking to Sacramento before you pulled out?
Yeah, well, we talked to Sacramento over the past few weeks just about other concepts to get the 8th pick, just because we had 8 players that we were really comfortable with. Understandably, they didn't want to pull the trigger in advance, like most teams. They wanted to see who was going to be there potentially. And then, when Marquese, went past the 5th and 6th and 7th team, I mean, we upped our offer. We were aggressive. We wanted him. Obviously, we gave up some, pretty good assets to get him. But he's a unique player, a unique talent. And the thing we like about those two guys is, again, they're completely different. I think both probably primarily power forwards, but I could see either one of them playing 3 through 5. And I know that might seem like a stretch to some, but those guys' ball skills and their ability to move their feet on the perimeter, their length, their athletic ability, their size, they're really versatile players, and we're ecstatic to have both.
Earl, look at what's
the guys are 18 years old. How far are they away from being so-called NBA ready? Significant time.
Yeah, I think they're a ways away, Bob. I'll be honest with you. I mean, so take Dragan Bender, for example. He's 18. He's the youngest player in this year's draft. He's younger than Devin Booker was a year ago. He's the youngest player in last year's draft. And if you were born 6 weeks later, he would not be eligible for this year's draft. That's how young he is. So he's a high school senior. So if you look at him like a high school senior, he's 7'1" barefoot. He's got a 9'3" standing reach. He shoots 37% from 3. His idol, his role model is Tony Kukoc. You didn't see a lot of that Maccabi, but if you watched him at the Croatian junior level, you saw some of that passing, some of that magic feel he had with the ball. So he's a special player. And again, Marquese Chriss, if you watched his progression throughout the year, he struggled some early in the year, especially with foul trouble. He just kept getting better and better and better, and then went from having a decent game every second or third game at the beginning of the year to at the end of the year he was playing pretty well almost every night and making some spectacular plays that not many guys in the NBA level can make. And you could just see the improvement and the growth throughout the year. So again, we're elated to have both those guys. I also should mention we just drafted Tyler Ulis from Kentucky in the 2nd round with the 34th pick. I felt it had been too long since we drafted a Kentucky guard. But no, he was. Tyler was, I believe, the SEC Player of the Year and the Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously he's small, right? And size and height and length and all that sell in the draft. But he's tough and he's smart and he's a winner, and we're excited to have him as well.
Earl, what goes through your mind when you see what you have now and the potential of these 2 top picks?
Very, honestly, just very lucky. Like Ron is being modest. He and his staff got it done. Like, to sit there and see it, and it's kind of like I guess in this situation we kind of reverse roles. You watch me coach, I watch him do his thing as well and implement things and draft and make calls and under pressure and the minutes are short. They got it done. Let's be honest with you. We're lucky to have the guys that we have. Marquese, Bender, Tyler are all unique players. Even Tyler's unique for his size. Marquese and Bender, they can do things that I haven't seen a lot of players do in the NBA in a long time. So to get this draft process started and for Ryan to execute it and the staff to execute the vision, for me, I'm just lucky as a coach to have the opportunity to have a front office that actually gets it done.
Ryan, he said that you got it done, but these guys that we talked to on the phone, Marquese and Dragan, the things they kept bringing up that impressed them about the team was Earl's impact and how he paid attention to them, not just as athletes, but as people. How big was he in the draft, the pre-draft process?
Well, it's huge. It's huge. We brought all three of those guys into Phoenix, and part of the reason for that is, we want to show them what we're doing or what we're trying to do here in terms of, trying to build a culture, trying to add like-minded young players. As you guys know, we've had some struggles the past year and a half. I feel really good about not only the young talent on our team, but the character of the guys. And we had a number of players, not just these three guys, but a number of players and their agents calling us, reaching out to us, texting us, saying, we want to be in Phoenix. We like what you're doing. And we said, really, like we think your guy will be hired. Wouldn't it be sacrificed financially, whatever, if he got to us at, 4th pick, 13th pick, 28th pick. They said, we don't care. We like it. We like your situation. We like your coach. We love your coach. We love the way he connects with young players. He motivates them. He inspires them. We saw what he did with Devin Booker. We saw what he did with Alex Len. And we want our guys in Phoenix. So that's powerful. The agents have a lot of control in the process, more so now than ever. So for us to get just about everybody we wanted to get in, and have agents calling us and saying, he wants to be in Phoenix, this guy, that guy. That's powerful, and we feel like gives us an advantage because not every team has that. There's certain teams in the league that agents don't let players go work out for, or they don't send the medical physicals to. With us in the position we're in, it's the opposite. They're calling us saying, please, my guy wants to be in Phoenix, here's number one choice. How do we get him there?
Earl, both those guys are listed as power forwards, but Ryan had mentioned that they go 3 to 5. Is there one guy that you see his skill set more as a 3-4 in the future and one as a 4-5?
I think the positive is both guys can shoot threes. Off pin downs, off the move, they can handle. Both guys can switch pick and rolls at any time. Bender, to me, has a great opportunity to play on the perimeter. He can handle the ball really well, and he's open to growing. That's always a positive. Marquese is really unique. He's a guy that can play above the square, literally. Like the way he jumps and catches lobs above the backboard is just amazing. And the way he has a finesse shot at the elbows is unique. He reminds me a lot of LaMarcus, just speaking to him, his personality, the way he carries himself. And Bender, he's going to be a unique player. He's going to be great within his own. And Tyler, I think Devin Booker's more happier than anyone.
Earl, how NBA ready do you see these guys on?
Last year I thought Devin was NBA ready in the summer league. So my vision is always a little bit different. My vision is very high. Expectations are really high. It's all about the process on selling them to believe in themselves and walking them along the way, and nurturing them along the way, and teaching them along the way. So I think the unique thing is we have great character kids or young men coming into this program. Another positive is that they have unique skills that is, to me, NBA ready right now, such as Bender, his ability to play within pick and roll, and to handle the ball in pick and roll at the 4 position. Marquese Chriss to shoot the 3, to play above the rim. Tyler Ulis to come in to score and assist and be a true point guard and run the team. I think this will be the best watched summer league team this summer in Vegas, so it's going to be fun to watch, but it's exciting.
Coach, it seems like they're putting a lot of stake in you to develop these guys. Youth movement is saying it lightly. What does that mean to you for them to trust you with the development of this franchise?
It means everything to our staff because we know we can develop and we know we can do it the right way, most importantly, and we know our time frame is a little bit quicker than others, and we're okay with that. We embrace that pressure, so to speak. We love it because we know for us good is the enemy of great, and we want to be great. So with us wanting to be great as a staff and as a program and for management, we also hold that bar up for the players as well.
Ryan, you said you brought it up this morning how it might be possible to get both. Was that meant by just kind of like by your cohorts up in the front office that it might be a pipe dream, or that it was it met with seriousness? Like, yeah, let's get this done.
Yeah, I think at first we said that we're not going to be able to do it. We just couldn't think of a realistic way to do it, given where we had those two guys rated on our draft board. But obviously every team's different. Teams rate guys at different levels. It was really hard, as you can imagine, to get a pick in the top 8. I mean, you look at last year, I don't think any lottery picks were traded, and we were trying to get into the mid-lottery. That's where we figured we had to get. And even then, we didn't know if that was good enough. So, when Marquese was there at 8, we'd been in discussions with Sacramento prior to that, but we went at them, really aggressively. It was obviously, I should mention, it was tough for us to give up the draft rights to Bogdanovich. He was a terrific player, a terrific guy. He is going to stay in Europe for another year. We wish him the best in Sacramento. That was tough for us because the picks are picks. We don't know them yet. They're hypothetical. They're conceptual. But over the last couple of years, we spent a lot of time with Bogdan. We've got to know him. He won the Earl Rising Star Award twice. He won a silver medal in the World Championships with Serbia. So we think he's going to be a terrific NBA player when he comes over. But once he told us he wasn't coming this year, obviously coming off a tough season and with a number of spots on our roster we're looking to fill, we try to figure out how can we have somebody to help us more immediately. And with Dragan and Marquese, again, you usually don't find those kind of guys unless you're in the height of mid-lottery. One of the picks was our own, and we had to figure out how to go get another one. And I'm glad we were able to do that.
What was both of your reactions when you were able to get the other pick and you were able to get your two guys?
Yeah, I don't think it was the most professional, probably. I think we probably yelped or screamed or something. We were excited. I mean, we were excited. Those guys, we got them at 4 and 8. We had them, rated higher than 8, obviously. So we were excited because it was something that we came up with. The concept our group came up with it was relatively late. We just started thinking about it this morning and try to figure out if there's any way. So from thought to possibility to execution, happened in a pretty quick period of time.
Right, we talked about not bringing too many new young guys in because you already have a bunch of young guys.
Yeah, I lied.
So I guess when was as big a deal as you said it was?
No, well, it's it had to be the right guys, Bob. And we had 4 picks. I told you, I don't think we'd do that. We weren't going to do that. After those first 2. We had some offers to trade the 34th pick, and we contemplated that as well. And after we got Bender at 4 and Chriss at 8, we were happy, we were content. But then, Tyler Ulis at 34, we think, frankly, the only reason he's there is because of his size. He's an SEC Player of the Year, SEC Defensive Player of the Year, high character, high IQ. In some ways, I see a coach on the floor for a young guy. Just went into Kentucky with all these great players around him, last year and this year, and just ran the show. He just ran it and controlled the game. So once he was there, that was too good to pass up. As you know, Bob, we had some injuries to the point guard slot last year, and that hurt us, kind of the lack of depth there. So we wanted to solidify that, and again, I probably said this before, I'll say it again. We had these 3 guys rated a lot higher. Well, I guess not Bender a lot higher, that'd be tough, but the other 2 guys rated a lot higher than where they got drafted, where we ended up taking them.
Right. With such a young group, how do you manage expectations moving forward? 2 18-year-olds.
Yeah, it's I think like Earl said, I think these guys might surprise some people. I think we'll sit up here and downplay what they can do to protect them and to be patient with them. But these guys have unique talents, unique abilities. Does that translate to winning NBA basketball games? I don't know. Historically, it doesn't when you're playing young players. But you saw what Coach Watson and his staff did last year with a very depleted, undermanned team. It's basically a skeleton team that we were running out there at the end of the year, and to finish 9-15 with that group, with no Eric Bledsoe, with no T.J. Warren, with a very limited Brandon Knight due to his injuries. After trading Marquise Morris, we added some guys, Alan Williams from China, John Jenkins with the waiver claim, Chase Budinger, the way and claim for signed. So for him to put that together and field a competitive team that won, that gives us, great confidence